In this week's episode, I have a conversation with Shakti Sundari about why feeling not good enough keeps men stuck, and how compassion opens a door to growth. We talk about grief, heartbreak, and the masculine path of letting go, how to use anger as a force for truth, boundaries, and passion. And we look at dating, rejection, and inner growth. Welcome to Man Quest Define Meaning, where we help men navigate modern life, find their true purpose, and redefine manhood. I'm your host, James, and each week, inspiring guests share their journeys of overcoming fear, embracing vulnerability, and finding success. From experts to everyday heroes, get practical advice and powerful insights. Struggling with career, relationships, or personal growth? We've got you covered. Join us on Man Quest to Find Meaning. Now, let's dive in. Last time, we talked about the root of disconnection in men and why men often feel isolated and lonely. We also looked at porn, loneliness, and the search for real intimacy, and how the disconnection from the body and the heart can lead to objectifying women and detaching yourselves from real relationships. We also looked at embodiment, conscious dance, and in the polarity, modern masculinity in relationships, what a healthy masculine can look like in regards to presence, purpose, emotional ownership, and integrity. And we also looked at projection, self-ownership, and inner work. Good morning, Shakti. You are not only the first woman, but you're the first person to have done it twice.
Thank you. It's such an honor, and I'm really excited. And again, I think I said this at the beginning of the last one. It's like I feel really honored. I feel really excited, and I also feel like this little bit of, it doesn't feel like a weight, but like responsibility. But I don't want to kind of feel any pressure. I just want to be like completely authentic and just do my best, So, but thank you. It's great to be back, and I'm excited.
I always tend to feel, when I first start doing a podcast, I always have this little bit of apprehension or this little bit of nervousness within me. But then as soon as the conversation starts, it kind of sinks away and you kind of get into the flow of things. Just to start off, we've talked about emotional depth and inner healing. And we also talked about how men tend to repress emotions. What practices can help men to become to feel safe, to be able to access their own emotional world without shame?
Right. We've gone straight in there.
We have gone straight in there. Why not?
So the first thing I want to say in response to that is, I would hate for men to be judging themselves for this. It's not like you're bad if this is how you've been operating. So, because I think there's so much, I think there's a lot of self-judgment amongst men at the moment, or a lot of sense of like, I'm not good enough. So we don't want to add to that. It's just a case of recognizing for our parents' generation and the generation before that, things were different, and it wasn't normal in those days to show your emotions, to talk about emotions. And so this is how we've been brought up. And it's just a case of like, that's how it was. This is the impact it's had. But just seeing this has had an impact, and it can be detrimental to your capacity to relate and to make love and to form really healthy connections. So then, how do we, what are the ways, like practical ways? I really like the way that your questions are sort of practical, that we can begin to access this. So these all seem quite simple, but they all take a level of commitment and discipline to do regularly. So the things that I would say are, one, meditation, because any practice like that, which is a way of cultivating inner presence and stillness, and meditation is a way to begin to build your inner resilience, your inner capacity to not react. It cultivates your capacity to witness what's going on rather than be identified with it, which is huge, because normally when you get triggered, you get reactive and like something kicks off and you feel fully identified with what's happening. Whereas if you begin to meditate and make that a daily practice, you'll begin to watch what's happening. So you're still, you're feeling it, you're not repressing it, but there's a bit of a gap. The gap will grow in terms of like, I notice this is happening. So meditation, I think, is essential. Breathwork is another really great one. And I think some of your other guests have mentioned that. And breathwork, there's many different forms, there's many different ways, and it can be activating. So depending upon what the practice is, it can be soothing to your nervous system and to, either ways will connect you more with your somatic experience, which is what we want, because emotion is energy in motion, right? So energy is in and around the body. It's not in the head. So to connect with that, you need to be more connected to what you're feeling somatically in the body. So breath and breath awareness helps you with that. And so, for example, calming ways of breathing would be the box breath, which probably other people have also spoken about. Breathe in, hold for 4, hold the breath for 4, breathe out for 4, hold the breath out for 4. That's one way. Or what in yoga, I just taught a yoga class this morning, slow, long breathing, where you train your body to lengthen the in-breath and balance that with the out-breath. So both parts of the breath are completely equal in length, and you gradually train your body to take a longer time to breathe in and a longer time to breathe out. So those practices are going to be really helpful, again, for connecting to your body, the energy in your body, and for when you get triggered. Any conscious movement practice, not just dance, because dance isn't everybody's cup of tea, right? So anything that combines moving and being in the body with being aware of what's happening, rather than just sort of numbing out, which is different. And then somatic practices like, and I think this would be really useful for a lot of guys. So if something happens where, because I think there's like, women are more skillful in dealing with emotions. Men are less skillful because it's not the norm. It's not like one's better or one's worse. But so it can begin with like, you might notice that there's an emotion. So it's like, I notice, I feel, and you might not even know what the word is, but ask yourself if you can find a word to describe the emotion that you're feeling currently. And you can look up, you can get like, you go online, you can get like a whole list of different emotions. So you begin to see the range, because for a lot of people, and especially for men, it sort of simplifies itself down to anger, fear, happiness, or something like that. But there is like hundreds of different emotions. So what am I feeling right now emotionally? What is the sensation in my body that goes along with that? So then that begins to connect you with the name of the emotion and the sensation. So it's kind of building your vocabulary in a way. I've got a couple more things. I feel like I'm going on for ages.
Keep going.
You go. All right. So there's a couple. I mean, there's so much free information, but like I would recommend Brené Brown, who's a female author who's written several books about the power of vulnerability, including The Gift of Imperfection. And then a really famous book called Emotional Intelligence by a man called Daniel Goleman. And they'll have free podcasts on YouTube and all kinds of stuff. If you're not a reader and you just want to listen to something instead, go look up that sort of thing. Men's groups, and then men's leaders, teachers who are embodying it, who have already done the work. So these are all the things that I think would really be helpful. So that when an emotional surge comes, rather than just like projecting it out or numbing yourself out or seeking to avoid it, you slowly over time, it's not going to happen overnight, you're able to stay with what is happening with your breath, with your presence, with your awareness, and just give it your attention, because that's all it's asking for. It's just asking for your attention.
It almost wants an internal dialogue. I feel I will quite often, my my emotion, which tends to keep coming up for me, is anxiousness, which I
Okay.
assume came from childhood. So you could include inner child healing as well. But there's a sense of anxiousness that just keeps coming up. But when I kind of, I've done this for years, so I know how to feel emotion and I know how to distinguish it. But what I found really powerful, and I don't know if everybody could do this, is having an internal dialogue with it. So, for example, the other day I was feeling anger. This is a part of myself that I'd been suppressing. And so, I decided to have an internal dialogue with my anger. And what came up was that it needs to be acknowledged, accepted, and loved. And then once it's been acknowledged, accepted, and loved, it was asking me then to go out and embody it, whether that's with regards to training, so like CrossFit, or to go out and to use it as dance to help me to transmute it and to feel it. Or it could be going out in nature. And sometimes I can talk about this out loud. So if you see me by myself and I'm talking by myself, it's not because I'm a weirdo and over there. It's because I allow myself to have an internal dialogue with part of myself. And one other thing you mentioned about somatic breathing, I've heard it everywhere. What is it?
So somatic just means body, anything to do with body. And what I mean by that, when I say it, is simply like if you are paying attention to the sensation of breathing, this will bring you present into the moment and it will bring you into your body, because the tendency is to flip up into the head and get caught in thinking. And that's what you want to move away from, because thinking about it isn't going to change anything. Feeling it is what's going to change it. So for a lot of men, I am generalizing. There's a fear of feeling emotion. There's a fear that it's going to be overwhelming. There's a fear like it's going to be too much. It's not familiar. So all these practices of calming the nervous system and being with sensation and getting out of the head, because the head goes into stories like la 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 la. Drop all that, come into the body, focus on your breath. And notice I'm feeling tightness in my chest. Like, so when you were feeling anger, where did you feel it in your body? Can you remember what it felt like in your body? Like maybe it's a clenching in your belly, or maybe it's like this heat in your cheeks, or like a tensing in the jaw, right? It could show us all these things. So you notice these things and you presence them, which just means noticing and being alongside, being with your awareness. And then actually you notice you can hold more. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to overwhelm you. But it takes a bit of courage the first few times to really be with it. And anger is a really important and powerful emotion. It means your boundaries have been overstepped in some way. It's showing you something. So it's giving you information. So like you said, you found a way to give it outlet, but it might eventually also be, I need to have a difficult conversation with my boss. I need to, because it's showing you something about your boundaries. And maybe in that moment, you didn't feel able to speak up for yourself or articulate something that didn't feel right for you. So it's really important, like as part of the growth process, okay, that felt off, I need to voice this, but you wait until you've integrated that sort of surge of anger. So you're not shouting your mouth off at someone, but you're coming from a more grounded place.
Yeah. It's when I find with anger especially is that it can be utilized as passion. So obviously it's not about letting the emotions control you. It's about allowing yourself to, I suppose, not control, but work with the emotions to express it in a way that's healthy. But with anger, what I've noticed is that anger can be the fire within your heart, which can take you to your passion to a whole new level.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's life force. It's fire energy, and fire energy is necessary to be motivated, to have purpose, to move towards your goals, to get things done. Like depression is when you've been repressing your anger so much that it's there somewhere, and it will probably come out in a really distorted way if you don't own it. So any things of depression or demotivation or victimhood, getting in touch with your anger in a healthy way is actually great.
Yeah, I used to, so I think it was probably about 6-7 years ago, whenever I used to drink, the anger used to come out. So when I was sober, I was able to suppress the anger, and it wouldn't come out in the wrong way. But then when I would go out drinking, or I'd be around somebody drinking, I would get aggressive. I'll get because I could no longer suppress it. So it would find an avenue to come out, and that's when it would come out.
Right. Yeah. So it's gonna like, this is the thing. If you repress it, it's gonna make you ill physically, or it's gonna come out in unhealthy ways. And particularly with anger, that's when it can become violent and destructive. But anger itself is not bad or unhealthy. It's an emotion, and all emotions have a reason. They have a purpose. And anger is about self-protection. It's about your boundaries. It's about justice. And so in a healthy way, acknowledged, it's a really great emotion to be in connection with.
Let's talk about grief.
Okay.
So I know from my own experiences and being through, I think it's about 4 breakups, how much grief I've had built up in me. What is your perspective on grief, and how can men consciously process grief without shutting it down and burying it?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, first of all, and just kind of owning that experience of yours. I think even for a man to say that can be quite a big thing. Like, my heart was broken. I felt grief about a breakup. So as I'm hearing that, I want to respond, but I'm just taking a moment and just actually feeling that in my own heart, because I feel a response to your words and to your experience. It's like, oh yeah, I feel that. And I feel my heart. I go straight into my heart in response to what you've just shared. I think that it's impossible to live life as a human being without disappointment, without grief, without loss, whether it's a heartbreak or something else. So it's first kind of, if it's helpful to put it into that context, this is part of the human experience. The first thing that we spoke about earlier in terms of being in contact with your emotions is going to help. So it's going to feel worse, potentially, if you haven't already cultivated a way of being in connection with your emotions and your body. Because you know what I'm going to say, the way to heal it is feeling it. You can't really, what's that? The children's story. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You've got to go through it. So there's going to be discomfort. There's going to be discomfort. If you want to heal and grow and learn, like, you can avoid it. You can repress it. You can shut yourself off. What's then going to happen is your heart is going to become armored. Your heart's going to become guarded. Your body's going to become less capable of sensing. You're going to shut down your capacity to feel sensation and emotion. That's going to make it harder for you to connect and relate with anyone, especially women, right, in future. So that's one way you could go. It's also probably going to, if you do the repression thing, lead to repressed anger and things coming out sideways in unhealthy ways. It may also lead to resentment towards the feminine, because you may be blaming her for your experience. The other way is to take full responsibility, recognize this as painful, recognize this is an opportunity for you to learn and to grow and to heal. I've been through loads of heartbreaks and heartaches. Like, I felt I was going to die so many times. So I know what it's like. It's not easy, even after doing it loads of times. I know. So I'm talking from experience. But I also know that if I allow myself to feel and I meet that feeling with the breath, with the meditation, with the somatic practice, with movement, with curiosity, with compassion, and getting a bit of a balance so as not to go completely into a self-wallowing slump of like, I'm going to be in bed for the next 2 weeks doing nothing. There's growth there. Your heart can grow bigger. Your heart can, if you allow it, open to feel more. You might see like childhood patterns of attachment. Like, what's my attachment pattern here? Oh, I noticed that I'm anxious or avoidant in my attachment. There's something for me to heal here. What have I received from this beautiful relationship? And to also recognize if it were meant for you, it would still be here. So it's very painful to let it go, but it's not meant to be because it's not. So the only way that you can continue to move forward is to do the healing, to do the feeling, which will take a while, to take the gifts and keep on moving through your life with a bigger heart and a bigger awareness and a deeper level of wisdom and self-awareness, because you've learned something about yourself and, cultivated a level of resilience that you maybe didn't have before.
I know from grieving that I'm somebody who I struggle to cry. I find it really hard to cry. And I even sometimes I get to a point when I'm going through this grieving process of trying to cry and trying to force myself to cry. And I might cry for 30 seconds or 40 seconds or a minute, and then I'll stop. Because literally, I feel probably there's almost a block there. There's something underneath it, which is just stopping me from properly letting go of all the grief. And so I can imagine there's something in the future is going to just do that, and it's going to be like, oh,
yeah. I can actually relate to that, because we're all conditioned differently, and I gotten a lot better. But I mean, so it's not always masculine, feminine thing. Like, I had a dad who was very emotionally unavailable, and I was very much sort of conditioned to be self-reliant. So there was nobody really in my household I could go to when I was upset. And so I learned to kind of squash my tears down. And I remember, like, that feeling when you get that big lump in your throat, get that feeling. And I was like, I can't show I'm vulnerable. I can't show I'm vulnerable because it didn't feel safe to be vulnerable in my family environment. So I have to feel very safe to cry with other people, so so I can relate to that myself. What I sometimes do is I watch and put a movie on that's a tearjerker. That's just a trick for me sometimes.
Braveheart or Titanic?
I can't remember Braveheart. It's so long ago I watched it. Probably Titanic would do. It's a bit longer.
Or it's Gladiator. Or for me, it's any romance movie sometimes triggers it. Because obviously, with going through this process of grieving quite a lot, I've also opened my heart up a lot more.
Right.
So some scenes on romance films can literally trigger the tears. Only temporarily, but they can trigger the tears to come up.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful when you do have that release. It just feels so cleansing and like something has been released, and they say that the chemicals in tears are different based on the emotion that you like, because, sometimes we cry with laughter or we cry for other reasons. And I think they've analyzed the chemicals are different when we're crying tears of grief to tears of joy and happiness and all the rest of it. It's really interesting.
It's what I was going to say is that sometimes it's just infectious. It just happens. But I suppose there has to be a trigger. So such as a film or something's happened where you remember a past partner. And then suddenly it's like,
Mm. Yeah. And it's not something to force, it happens when it happens.
Mm.
But I think, again, generally, the more connected you become with your emotional body, with your physical body, the more you feel safe within yourself, when you trust yourself, the more confident you become in who you are, probably the easier it is for the tears to come and for you to feel accepting and compassionate towards your own, tears.
Just before we actually label grief with crying, do people have to cry to grieve? What's your opinion there?
I don't think there's any have to about I don't think there's any have to about anything. We're all different, and how we feel things is different. Um, Tears are healthy, tears are beautiful, tears are normal. It is a biological human process. And if they're not coming, like, again, you don't want to be judging yourself or trying to
Yeah.
judge yourself, like, oh, I can't cry and I really want to cry. Like, what if I was working with a client and they said that to me, I would say, okay, so let's just sit with the feeling of I need to cry, or let's just sit with that desire to cry, and then just breathe with that and feel that in your body. So you just start with what is present rather than trying to make yourself be something that isn't actually what's happening right now. Because the healing process really, and the growth process, is just about presencing whatever is. Yeah, that's it. You just presence what is here now. And by presencing what is here now, you'll find that whatever is here now begins to shift and relax. And then something else presents itself. And then something else presents itself.
Because all emotions are energy. So it's being with that energy and moving it through your body.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing to force. You don't have to make anything happen. And there can be a connection, like, going back to anger, joy, grief. So the 5 rhythms is a dance practice, and it takes you through, like, each of the rhythms is connected to a different emotion. And I can't remember the order, unfortunately, but fear and anger are in there. So it is a great practice to access those emotions. And it's not like you're thinking, oh, I need to feel angry now. It's just the music supports different movements. And I remember a few times I've been on the dance floor and I was laughing my head off hysterically. And then tears began to come down. And it was like I tipped from, like, what I thought was joy, and I sort of suddenly tipped into grief. Like, there was no mental process. So this emotional range is there, and sometimes one can be very close to the other.
Yeah, it's almost like because with dancing myself, you're dancing to a certain sensation in the body, and then suddenly it switches. So that it might be a sensation here in the top of the chest on the whichever side, and it might shift down to here, or down to the heart, or or into the head, or into the legs. And it's almost, I feel sometimes, allowing yourself to not force yourself to stay in a specific place, but allowing yourself to move around the body to wherever your attention goes to.
Yeah, completely. I mean, that's the thing. The body has such an intelligence. If you just allow it to do what it's doing and be present to what it's doing without the mental interpretation. That's why these practices of moving consciously are so helpful. Because you find you rewire yourself without having to without having to sit in a chair and do any analysis at all. It just reconfigures itself through the movement. Emotion is energy and motion, right? And in one of those dance experiences, you can go through so many different stages, and stuff can move through your body without you having any idea that was going to happen that night. I could go to 5 rhythms and, like, I'm ecstatic, I'm joyful, I'm crying, I'm sad, I'm shy, I'm confident, I'm sexy, I'm an old hag. I just go through all these different stages of whatever is, and just allow it, just allow it, because it's a safe space.
What creates true magnetic polarity between the masculine and feminine?
Oh, right.
Let's throw another angle.
Okay. This is God, like so many things to say here. And so really want to stress, like, whatever I'm saying, okay, please don't take it as the truth. Anyone who's listening to this, watching this is just my perspective. It's an informed perspective for sure. I've studied this stuff for a long time. I've been embodying it for a long time, and it's just my perspective. So I always want to say that if something doesn't resonate for you, just doesn't resonate, fine. Okay. So the question, what creates true polarity? Is that the question?
So what creates true magnetic polarity between the masculine and feminine?
There's a lot of talking about that online at the moment as well. I've noticed it's really, really interesting, and things can get a little bit rigid, and there are some very sort of set perspectives. I can only speak from what I know and I've experienced. What I would say is it's when a man and a woman, or those who identify as that, embody their authentic essence. We're all a unique composition of masculine and feminine. So everyone has masculine and feminine. So masculine is not the same as man. Feminine is not the same as woman. We all have a unique blend of these essences or energies. But most women will have more feminine essence, and most men will have more masculine essence. But we're all unique balance. And there's a lot of distortion in how we have all been conditioned or socialized to be a girl and to be a boy. That isn't actually connecting us with our true essence. It's kind of, a lot of men and women are performing masculinity or femininity, but they're not really embodying it. So there's a big difference. You know, like the way that you see a lot of women putting themselves on social media with a big focus on physical appearance, for example. That's, in some ways, it can be a distorted version of what I would call the true feminine essence. Because so I'll talk about the feminine and talk about the masculine. When a woman, you know, I've worked for 20 years with women around this kind of stuff, is truly in touch with her feminine essence and feminine qualities like her body. So the three qualities of the feminine, to summarize it: body, sexuality, sensuality, and emotions. And those three qualities you will also have as part of your feminine as a man, right? But for a woman, so when I work with women, we have to move through all the ways that she's been conditioned to hate her body, to use her body, to trade her body for validation. You know, this is part of the conditioning of patriarchy. So most women hate their bodies. They're not at home in their bodies. They use their sexuality. They use their body rather than being fully at ease and at home and in love with their physical body, like genuinely, not ashamed. And same with their sexuality. We have to heal the shame, the guilt, the trauma. A lot of women have experienced sexual abuse or assault. We have to heal all of that until she's back in touch with her true sexual, sensual essence. Very different to the performative way that a lot of women are out in the world. So it's not about how much cleavage you show. It's not about how many lovers you've had. It's just not about that at all. And then emotions. Again, a lot of women are out of touch with their emotions too. So there's a lot of healing to be done. So when a woman has done that inner work or is doing that inner work, she'll begin to show up in a very different way to how she's been taught by culture, by society, by media to be a woman. And you'll feel it. You'll feel her radiance. You'll feel her ease. You'll feel her magnetic energy. You'll feel her sensuality. You'll be drawn to it. But she's not doing anything to get something from you. It's just, that's the feminine. The feminine is just that. Beautiful, radiant, creative, joyful, and light and dark. And the deep, unconscious, the dark feminine is also, she can be a right fucking bitch as well. right? Dark feminine. We all have nothing like dark. So she's the unconscious, like in the yin yang symbol. She's the black bit, the dark unconscious. And that's an important part of being human. Okay, so then there's the masculine. Again, there can be all these ways that men are performing masculinity, but they're not embodying masculinity. And it is so different because you can feel the difference there. So what kinds of qualities? So masculine. So I said for feminine, it's like body, sexuality, emotions. For masculine, it's like consciousness. That's why meditation is so important. Not just, some people make a joke and say, well, I'd be dead if I wasn't conscious. So what I really like a higher level of awareness, purpose, drive, skillfulness. These are the kinds of qualities of masculine essence. It's like, again, if you look at our anatomy, one is round, one is straight up, aligned. I'm aligned. I'm in my integrity. Things aren't out of integrity in my life. I do what I say I'm going to do. I show up. I speak the truth. I stand for what is correct. I'm unwavering like a tree. These are masculine qualities. And, physically, you have a penis that sticks out, that wants to go forward. That is part of being masculine. It is forward driving. It has a goal. It has a purpose. And when all of these bits are aligned, it's beautiful. It gets distorted when these things aren't aligned and you become, like the archetype, tyrannical or controlling or lustful in a way that's not integrated, just examples. But again, this for men, they're going to have to go through the same process as the women do to come to a place where the essence itself is truly embodied. So healing around your sexuality, healing around your heart, cultivation of your awareness. These same principle, like inner work, needs to happen to embody it, because it's one thing to know, I know the archetype, king, warrior, magician, lover. Great. But it takes inner work to truly embody. What is it to be a warrior? Well, then you need to stand up when there's injustice in the world and be, the one who speaks truth, even when everyone's going to hate you. You need to be the one to stand up and protect your friends, your family, your girlfriend, your children, rather than sit back. You're the one who's going to have to motivate yourself to take action. These are all qualities of like living rather than just thinking about what it is to be. So when we're embodying these aspects, then there is a natural polarity that begins to happen. Opposites attract. It's just how it works. And there's a beautiful, I guess the final piece I would say is part of that inner work is connecting with your own inner opposite. So for every woman, to heal the father wound and to connect with her inner masculine, because a woman without an inner masculine is just collapsed or at the whim of her desires, or, she's just going to go into one extreme expression of the feminine. You need a masculine to be a woman in her radiance. A man needs to be in contact with his inner feminine to be in touch with his full essence. You can't, otherwise it's just not going to work. It would be completely imbalanced. So both have to do that. Then there can be the polarity, because he's not afraid of her dark feminine. He's not afraid of her emotions. He knows how to lead sexually, spiritually, whatever. And they can then become this beautiful dance. And both can switch as well. It's not like you have to be rigidly in one thing all the time. But I think the more at ease you are in who you are, the more you're in touch with your internal other, the more easily that switching can happen. What was I going to say? I just know for me, like as a woman who's done so much of this inner work, there's nothing more beautiful for me than being with a man who's embodying, what I would call his masculine essence. It's just beautiful. My heart opens. My body wants to open. I can surrender. I can trust. I can just, my whole nervous system just goes, I breathe a sigh of relief. I feel safe. It's just so beautiful to experience that. And I'm obviously not a man, so I don't know how it is for a man to experience that with a woman. But yeah.
So, with regards to this man who would obviously embody these healthy traits, what kind of traits are you talking about?
Healthy masculine traits?
Yeah. So you're just talking about you as a healthy feminine, and you're kind of attracted to this healthy masculine. What particular traits is it that actually align with yourself?
Okay. Grounded, present, confident, relaxed, purposeful, in integrity, honest, reliable, consistent, sexually integrated. Those kinds of things.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
It's with being 10 years on my journey, it's going through the journey, I would never go back, because what you realize, even though it's hard and there's always more and more work to be done, there's never an end. It's that idea of becoming more conscious, of being able to observe the moment and being able to be in your own frame, to have self-love, self-worth, self-respect, and what's the other one is self-value. And what you come to realize is that actually, when you start to go on this path, you start to realize that, this may be my purpose, is actually to help other people to integrate what I'm doing, but with others. And that, for me, has been a special gift, that I'm continually changing. So what I offer quite often changes, but it's almost like it's evolving.
Yeah.
What you can give.
Yeah. This is that's really important. I was going to write a blog about this, actually. I mean, this is just me personally. This isn't every woman, so I want to make that distinction. But for me, like, I've been so devoted to growth for over 20 years. I wouldn't be attracted to a man who's not equally committed to growth. And there may be some kind of, is that true? I'm not sure. I was wondering if there's a gender difference. I'm not sure in terms of kind of growth orientation, because there can be this tendency, in humans, let's not make it gender specific or sex specific, to kind of stay where you are, where it's cozy, where it's comfortable, where you know the lay of the land, right? There is something about the feminine, this is true, that always wants more. She's always going to want more. She's always going to want to explore what's next, what's more. It's like because the feminine energy it's a creative energy. It's a life energy. So life is moving. It's not stuck. It's never the same. Like a woman changes 50,000 times during one day. That's not bad. It can be confusing for a man who doesn't understand his feminine. That's just a woman being herself, just like life, just like nature, changing. That's life. So when these difficulties come, when these challenges come, it's not like, something's wrong, something bad. I don't like this. Instead it's like, this is an opportunity. What can I discover? How can I grow through this? What next? Like, how can I become a better person through this? That's the exciting flip side of it. Like you're saying, like constantly evolving, right? Becoming a better version of yourself and getting curious. I see a lot of because I'm kind of studying at the moment, like what's going on in the dating and relating world, especially. And I see quite a lot of judgment, like from both men of women, women of men. I see judgment and well, that's going to keep you stuck. It's probably not going to improve your chances at all. You're going to stay stuck in resentment. You're going to stay stuck in judgment. You're going to stay stuck in bitterness. Like, how about getting curious? Why are they saying this? Why do I feel this? Are women different? If they're different, how are they different? Are men different? If so, how? Like rather than judging, like get curious. What can I learn here? Because there are differences. And understanding it can be really helpful. It can make your life more successful. It can make you more successful. So why wouldn't you want to learn? I think there can be a bit of resistance to learning sometimes.
I recently got back on Bumble probably about 2 weeks ago. And it wasn't necessarily because I've always said that I'll find somebody go out in the world when I'm doing something. Yeah. But it suddenly just clicked to me. Something just happened, like, get on Bumble.
Okay.
Something internally said, get on Bumble. And within the first day, I matched somebody. Okay. And this fear came up. Some of my old attachment wounds, fear and anxiety and feeling I'm not good enough came up. And so I was kind of like, oh, do I message? Do I not message? I messaged in the end because what came up that same day was about resistance. So if you feel resistance to something, just go straight in. Go in straight into the resistance because that's what you're meant to do. Because in resistance, it comes change. Yes. And this idea that, I matched with her, had a great conversation, but she kind of disappeared probably about 8 days later, which is fine. So what it taught me really was that I still got some of them lingering things that I need to work through. But at the same time, I've come 1,000 miles ahead of what I was. And that's the thing, because everything I believe, if we see ourselves as the universe or as God, some people use it, or as whatever word you want to use, and you're the main character, and you see everything in your life as a growth opportunity, then you're going to change it all. And what I kind of realized was that from that is that, it's great. I'm back on Bumble, got the confidence, going, I'm 1,000 ahead of myself, and I still need to just work through a couple of lingering things, and that's okay, and I'll carry on. But as you said, I don't know, with the online world, it's difficult because you have in the back of your mind the person who you would like to attract. But on things like Tinder, on Bumble, on other social media dating apps, you get very little information.
Yeah.
And so you aren't sure. You have this idea of swiping, but with online dating, it almost gives you this idea of to judge somebody based on what they give you information, which is very little, and on pictures.
Yeah, I so agree. It is very difficult to make any kind of discernment with so little information. And I think that's a real problem with the online. I mean, I'm on 2 online dating sites, just owning that. And for me, like, I want to say a couple of things. So I agree with you. So I see every interaction I have, I see it as an opportunity for growth, and I see that person as a fellow soul, and I take full responsibility. So, like, full responsibility. Everyone is a soul, opportunity for growth. If I feel something, that's for me to navigate. It's not their fault. It's for me to inquire into, right? So I've done all kinds of crazy things because when I first started doing it, I was like, I'm just going to have fun with this. So it's also take the pressure off. Don't take it so seriously, right? Don't take yourself so seriously, and experiment. like I sexted with 20-year-olds. Well, not quite, but like I've just tried out different things. I was like, I don't judge myself and I just allow myself, like literally, like, I'm the creator of the universe in that sense. Like, what does it feel like to do this? And I did it. And I was like, no, I don't like this. So I tried it and I was like, okay, I don't want to do this again. I just want to own that I'm kind of playing with these things and like, I just kind of want to open the perspective to like playfulness and like, don't take it so seriously. Have fun. It's just a person. You don't know them. They can't hurt you. You might feel hurt by something, but how can someone you don't know possibly hurt you? They're just a reflection. They're just a mirror of something. And, I've matched with plenty of people who've just like disappeared. It happens to all of us. It's not personal. In the old days, I would have taken it very personally. I know it's not personal. It's got nothing to do with me at all. If they disappear, great. Obviously, they weren't meant for me. Otherwise, it'd still be there. I've got one other point I was going to say now. What was the other point? Oh, about the sort of objectification thing that happens. It really brought it home to me because I went dancing last night. I love salsa dancing. And so I had a great time. I danced for about 3 hours and it's a partner dance, men and women, right? And the two men that I had the best dances with, I don't fancy them, right? It's not about that. However, I had such beautiful dances with these two different men in the room. I wouldn't have looked at them on the street ever in terms of like physical attractiveness. But the experience I had with them of dancing was so beautiful. They were great dancers. They were perfect gentlemen. I felt safe. I felt held. I felt guided. I felt led. And I came back and it was great because I said to myself, yeah, that's kind of how you build a connection with someone that you like, you trust, you feel safe with. I wouldn't have given them a certain look on the high street, but they might become a friend. They might become a dancing partner, and it's like, it's just not then about like the physical configuration. It's about who they are when you actually are with them face to face, which is so different to behind a screen, and where there is so little to go on. I mean, when I do it, I do try to feel like I look at the pictures and I really try to, I do look at physical attractiveness, but I also want, I think I might have said this last time, I really want to dispel the myth that that's all women go for, because I don't just go for that. And I don't know any woman who just goes for that, honestly. So I do think it's a myth that men perpetuate to beat up on themselves. It is far more about how you show up, because most women want a good, kind man who's going to be consistent, who's not going to just want to shag them, basically, and who they can build a meaningful connection with. So they're looking for signs of that in how you show up.
You mentioned the word playfulness. Now, playfulness is like third on my value list. So I've done some quite in-depth looking at my values, but I find resistance around it. Why do I don't know if it's men generally, but let's say, why do people find playfulness so difficult, and why is there so much resistance around playfulness?
Oh gosh,
that's out of the blue. That's what I just threw it in.
I think here's my top answer that's just come up. I think it's learned self-consciousness. That's my top answer, because children naturally, well, we're all different again, but children naturally are playful and open and spontaneous and just follow and express. And then through growing up in a family and a culture where you're told to shut up and you shouldn't do this and not now, and, maybe you got a spank here and there or a slap somewhere, you begin to contain yourself. And as you go to school, like people go to school so young, and like it's all about control and contain, and like, you're only supposed to like be playful in certain amounts of time, but it's like the most natural thing, right? So I think then you go into teenager years, and everything is like, oh, I'm so self-conscious. Like, what are people thinking of me? What are people thinking? Do I look stupid? That sort of thinking comes online when we're teenagers, doesn't it? And I guess for me, the process of awakening has been like a reverse thing. It's like you're born and you're awake, and then you forget, and then you start to wake up, hopefully. And it's like you roll back all of the layers, you peel them back one by one, and then the playfulness that was there reemerges. Because, it might be hard for you to believe. I don't know. Like, I did used to be painfully shy and really self-conscious. I thought I was dead ugly, like dead unattractive. Everyone was judging me, like really like self-conscious as a teenager and in my early 20s. And then, this blossoming has happened. And honestly, now I don't even think what people, it just doesn't even enter into my head. I just do what I want to do. Do what feels, wear what feels good, to express myself on the dance floors. It feels good. But honestly, the thought doesn't enter in what are they thinking. So I think that's part of it. It's because playful is natural. And what would I say? There's so much rigidity that comes in as we become adult, like responsibilities and concerns and stress and, just being silly can be such a great way. And I'm talking to myself now, actually.
Well, it's funny you say that, because recently my nephew, and touch wood, nobody from the school hears this about anything, but a nephew and his friend were at the school, have got a swimming, they've got a little swimming pool brought in so they can go swimming, and they've been messing around and diving in the pool when they should be listening. But they got told off and sent to the head teacher's office. But what came up for me there really was that was just as in schools, quite often in classes, we get told we've got to be, you only talk when you're being talked to, or you've got to do this, you've got to write it, you've got to do all this kind of stuff. There's no playfulness as you move up school levels, there's less and less playfulness. And so sometimes kids play up and do things which they're not meant to do, to instruct the whole class, but it's just a playfulness side of themselves coming out. And I feel in our society and in other societies, there's a lack of playfulness that comes with the society as a whole.
Totally.
But playfulness allows us to express our creativity. It allows us to express our, I suppose, this idea of sexual energy, because that's creativity as well. Also allows us to relax, have fun, calm down, helps us to chill. And it's just this idea that sometimes we get, no, you can't play. Playfulness is not for you, but playfulness is probably one of the best things that we can do, in my eyes.
So, like, just laughing is so healthy. It releases loads of endorphins, and it can be such a great way to relieve stress and tension. Like, your whole body relaxes with a good belly laugh. That's what I wrote down. Like, don't take yourself so seriously, because it's like, when we get older, doesn't it? We can take ourselves so bloody seriously. And so comedy is such a great way to laugh at yourself, because we can get a little bit, what's the word? Like, so over-identify with, this problem and that problem and this thing. And it's like, just shake that all up a little bit and just remember, you're just here for a short span of time, and like, let's not take it too seriously. Like, it's a big cosmic joke. Come on, I was thinking of comedy improv, which I'm really shit at, but I just love it. I'm quite good at doing slapstick, but I'm really bad at comedy improv. I'm also thinking of a friend of mine who does clowning as, a playful way to, he kind of called it conscious clowning or something like that. Yeah.
But also laughter yoga. So I used to teach laughter yoga. back in the day, probably about 3-4 years ago, and it's just going like, ha, it's just kind of like, yeah. So basically, going through laughter yoga, you can teach yourself just to randomly laugh for no apparent reason, and it does feel good. It does feel really good. Unfortunately, time's run like there's no tomorrow, and it's the end of the session. But would you be willing to do a third session? There's so much we can chat about.
I'd love to.
Because I think the amount of content that we go through and talk about, I think, is so important for men.
Okay. I hope so. I really hope so, James. I really hope so. Yeah. And I love it. I love our conversations. They're great.
Yeah. This could become like a once in every 3 months kind of occurring. Okay. So thank you very much, Shakti.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. See you in 3 months or less.